Car dealers agree that maximizing dealership revenue is key, but methods of moving metal and servicing retail customers is often where philosophies differ. Stay tuned after the news and join us at the quarter hour when dealer industry experts tackle the hottest strategies to drive profits, performance, and long-term growth. Say hello in the live chat. Join us. Feel welcome. This is ATI Auto Business. It's show number 405. This is Automotive Ecosystem. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Hopefully we're live. Let me just check real quick. I don't think we're live. Are we live? Check, check, check. Okay, yeah, we're live. All right. Maybe. I hate it when I'm not in my office and I can't tell. But it looks like, I'm seeing, yeah, we're live. Okay, thanks, Mark. Thanks, buddy. So who's the mystery guest? What is going on tonight? What are we doing? All right, so what we're doing is we are talking about selling more cars, but we don't have this is not our guest. Now, do cars like people more than cars? What's the catchy slogan? Is that how you sell more cars? Oh, but there's fighting in the dealership. So really, what is going on? What is the context? I talk about knowing your ecosystem. I don't pull any punches. And we're going to talk about that too. That's actually the first part of the news. This is the automotive ecosystem. It is the neutral zone. You can say anything here because I think we need that. So people are asking me, Jay, are you okay? Like, we saw the show on Automotive Ecosystem recently. You did the death of free speech in automotive. Yeah, I think I'm okay. Jay, have you lost your mind? Well, am I alone? Are there mental breakdowns happening privately on benches alone? I think America's having a nervous breakdown. Now, I wouldn't say it's the first one, but we're having yet another breakdown in a series of breakdowns. I really do. The country couldn't be more split. This is not going to be a show about politics, but we have to admit reality if we can understand why. Maybe is the auto industry going crazy too? Is there a complete split between reality and expectations? And that's really what I think. You've got two really diverse groups. The disparity between the haves and the have-nots continues to grow larger. Now, I found this slide. I don't remember ever seeing this image. I didn't create this image. I think it's ironic because I think we have more bullshit now than we had a year ago. Gaslighting is everywhere. There is so much gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse that causes someone to doubt their sanity, perceptions, or memories, or what you see and feel and think. Even when Marjorie Taylor Greene is starting to make sense, that's how I know we're in insanity. And by the way, I don't care about this. I don't care about this. I don't care about any of it. What I care about is pointing out the Kool-Aid. And I think that the workplaces that scream about not being toxic and being the greatest are actually the most toxic. Like, if you're celebrating like this on the golf course, you're part of the haves. You have nothing to do with the have-nots, and it's a small club that people can't get into. If you are eating as much lobster as you possibly can every chance you get, you're in a small group. And congratulations, you're at the trade show. You're the sponsor. You got the work. You got the session. You get to talk. Everyone else has to just listen. You get an award. There's a direct correlation between how much golf you play, how much lobster you eat, and how many awards you have. That's a cult, by the way. So if you're swimming with sharks and you are silenced, you're part of the workforce, forced to worship a false idol of toxic workplace and you have to join a crusade and get bloody just to make it through the day. You have your head in the sand, and you are the first to be replaced by AI. So it's something to think about as you look towards AI and wonder what happens next. Because if you're doing all those things, you're next. And here's what Automotive wants you to do is just keep these are the headlines. This is what I'm telling you. They're shoveling leadership and they're not saying anything. I know leadership exists, but if you have to cram leadership down people's throats that much, that's a business. That's a cult. And you're just shoveling leadership. You can speculate till you're blue in the face and make channels and shows about it and get rich and play golf and eat lobster, but it's nonsense. Awards for no reason, job promotions on paper. You know my list. I hate this stuff. It's dumb. That's why I'm doing this show. That's why it may seem like I'm having a nervous breakdown, because it's the opposite of what the rest of Automotive is pretty much trying to tell you. I don't know why. Yeah, I am at the end of my rope on this Automotive gig because I can't understand why we don't want to actually learn something. Okay, let's go to some actual news. Hertz begins online car sales in competition with Carvana. This is actually interesting news. What does this mean for the auto industry, and what do dealers think about it? So put a button on that, guests. Darrell, Frank, and Jim coming up. So yeah, Hertz, Carvana. Okay, the EV lease credit extension. Does anybody care about this, actually? How about CarMax's wake-up call? What happened here? And does it matter? Did it bounce back the next week? As delinquencies continue to rise, consumers' view on buying vehicles deteriorates too. Is that real? Does anybody care? Down payments plunge, loan terms stretch. By the way, I can't believe that this headline even made it into mainstream news. I'm going to call that the ATI effect, because seeing truth appear in automotive news publications blows my mind. Auction conversion rate slips below 60%. There's another headline. You have to dig through all the crap to find actual information, but it's here. Used car buyers committing $1,000 monthly payments. Wow. Foreclosures surging as homeowners grapple with rising costs. This was not automotive news. This was outside of automotive. Nearly 400,000 individuals filed bankruptcy so far this year. I'm guessing these aren't two of them. It's a hilarious. I love that. That's a great. U.S. lost 32,000 jobs in September. See, again, you have to venture out, because I think inside the automotive industry they're still saying jobs are good. Not true. It's not true. Here, Jamie Dimon says auto company bankruptcy reveal early signs of excess in corporate lending. You think? Here's another. Oh, I can't believe the truth slipped out again. Report shows consumer sentiment unchanged, which means it's not getting any better. Auto supplies rise, sales decline. Right. So Jim is with us tonight. Jim likes the truth. I know it's dangerous, but he puts out there Carvana's lowball offer of the day. I want to hear more about that, because I don't know how it's possible to do same-day delivery in all these major cities if everything is great. There's got to be a problem. There have been numerous ideologies circulating about acquisition. If the math isn't mathing, then we need to call it out. That is why we're here tonight on Dealer Debate. This is the news segment to warm things up. No more secrets. Woman goes to a dealership auction. She can't believe the prices. So I do wonder, what happens if regular people get into auto auctions? I know it's not possible today because you have to have a dealer's license. What if that changes? EV makers fill tax credit void with costly discounts. I don't know if anybody cares. Automakers exposed to bankrupt aftermarket supplier. Who cares? Oh, here's... When ICE walks in your dealership, I have got to say, that's the best headline I've seen on your channel in weeks. How to protect your dealership during an ICE inspection. Wow. I'm going to call that the ATI effect. I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back because, as the president will tell you, that's fine. You can do it. You do it all day. Speaking of, I know what we're not going to talk about is all of the stolen vehicles. Now, again, I think I had a headline, maybe I removed it, that theft is down and this and that. It's not true. Cars are being stolen left and right. Here, this came in today. I had a phone conversation this morning about a load board hack. That's right. This load board wants you to believe they can't be hacked. I got a call today about a hack. They did not dispatch the vehicle, and yet hackers sent a tow truck to go pick it up. The dealer didn't recognize the tow truck driver that went to pick it up. People started making phone calls. Luckily, the car wasn't stolen. But hacking is happening. You can't move with confidence. Look for that show next month. So these fraud awareness workshops, are the frauds running the fraud awareness workshops? Only on ATI will you get that question, because nobody wants to ask that question, but I think that's what's happening. It's just another power grab to play golf, eat lobster, and get an award. Meanwhile, they are stealing vehicles. They're looking inside the cars. The car today that was being stolen was only a $65,000 car. That's the volume we're dealing with. We're dealing with international car theft, hacking groups. You know, when your showroom is finally empty, maybe you'll come over to this channel and say, golly, that guy Jay, he might have been angry, but he was right. I cannot move with confidence. I've been gaslit the whole time. I need the FBI. Oh, well, no, I can't call them because I've been gaslighted by a Kool-Aid drinker that wants me to believe that it's all a bunch of bull. Folks, this is temporary. Don't you know that? Just watch this show in 30 days and send me the memo. Send me the images of the tanks. There it is. Vehicle thefts dropped 23% in first half of 20. Really? This is a headline in Automotive. Wow. So, yeah, go ahead and pursue your fake witch hunts. Go ahead and get your brain rot. I tell you, try the History Channel, because history does repeat itself. We're not learning anything on the daily brain rot. And if you're chasing down the witches and the scarlet letters, man, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're doing it. It kind of, to me, smells like a come to Jesus moment. That is the news. I'm here to help. I feel like I got to shake the snow globe to try to get things back into context. I keep talking about the ecosystem. I don't really know why anymore. I don't know why I ship information. I don't know why I have a podcast. I don't know why. Well, I'll tell you what. I do know why you can contact me, because I like it when people pick up the phone. I had 2 great conversations today. One was the hacking. Another was, check this out, I got a phone call today because I had this great show last week, and people want to know about this stuff. I'm here to help. Let's have another good show. Let's do a dealer debate. Darrell Steed is our feature guest. So do me a favor, stick around right after this. We're going to be live with Darrell. We'll be right back.
Understanding web traffic at your site can be a funny thing. Who, when, why? Then you have things like bounce rates, visit times, return traffic. The point is, you have traffic, but are you capitalizing on all that traffic and why they came to your site to begin with? You may do moving, vehicle inspections, car auctions, custom car building, car clubbing. Quotify is the first online shipping utility feature that helps you to retain the relevant traffic and capture business which is typically just sent away. It instantly allows your visitors to see multiple shipping companies' rates and live reviews with an option to book the shipment now or email it for later. If you have car shipping relevant traffic, then why not swing the bat and make some money along with some other added benefits? The best part of Quotify is that it's free. Yes, that's right. We actually pay you to offer your visitors something they most likely need anyways. So let's wrap this up. It's a totally free utility feature that will increase your site visit times, lower your bounce rates, increase return rates, and we even pay you to use it. Sounds too good to be true. It's not. Sign up today or call now to speak with a commercial account specialist.
Don't lose any more sleep worrying about missing leads. Get Transport Auto Quoter. Quote the right price the first time, every time with Transport Auto Quoter. Mic check 1 2 3. Darrell, can you see me and hear me okay?
Sure can.
All right. I can see you. I can hear you. I say it that way because I'm not in my studio, and I don't like, like being on the go. You do stuff. You do a lot of, hey, you're putting out a lot of content, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Do me a favor. Say hello. I want to talk about that too, but before we go any further, please say hello. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah. So, Darrell, Steed, president of Smart Wolf Consulting, dealing with all things acquisition and helping used car operations across the country for dealerships. And yeah, I've got a lot of different things going on, between podcast, working with stores, just now got to be asked to be a host of a syndicated TV show, or essentially a podcast, but on cable television. So there's a lot of things going on, and it's super exciting. I love it.
That is awesome. And congratulations on the, your upcoming gig. I mean, that's obviously right. Isn't that part of the goal of making content, to move on to the next level and be invited to something that's awesome.
Yeah, get to meet different people too, not just automotive, right? Getting to meet different people, do different things, right? So it's expanding the horizons and taking it to that next level.
It's actually very helpful to take an automotive break at times. I've had some people ask me, "Hey Jay, do you need a break?" Well, yeah, and I do other things too.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
But that's, and you know what? I don't think it's just automotive. I think all industries. I don't know. What let's hit upon that for a second. What do you think is happening in 2025 with people and industry and AI, and what's happening?
I think there's just a lot of noise, right? And so, anytime you have uncertainty and you create too much noise, like you said, it doesn't matter the industry. People man, when it starts coming at you so fast, you need a break, you need a breath. And AI has become this is going to somehow take over things. I can personally tell you, there are pieces of AI that are super intriguing and can definitely make us better, faster, but it's not taking over anytime soon. I mean, there's so many misconceptions because we want to replace people, or we want to do that. And AI it's a tool. And I don't see it being more than a tool for quite a long time, because people at the end of the day still want to connect with people. We just need to learn how to use the tools properly and stop trying to find the easiest, laziest way to get things done.
And so as you say that, I think right now kind of setting up that dealer debate aspect, because I think there'll be some debate on, the use of AI. I will say this, though. What I was reminded of this morning in 2 important phone calls was that you can do there will be, I think there's a lot of AI. I'm using ChatGPT myself for different things, but it was those 2 phone calls that had the most meaning to me. And it's a great reminder that a phone call from a human being, and in fact, on the fraud that was in one of the phone calls that I had today, was about fraud. It was human being phone calls that's actually stopping fraud.
Sure. And I think it's funny you say that AI is definitely something you have to embrace, right? You got to embrace pieces of it. Like, use ChatGPT. I use it. I'm using Sora. I'm using Claude. I'm learning all these AI tools because it is something you at least need to understand. However, like ChatGPT, the most well-known one, the most used one right now in the States, maybe the world, it lies to you all the time. If you don't fact check it, it gives you information that has no bearing or no truth. So I was writing an article, I asked for 2 site references. It gives them to me. I click on the link. There's nothing to be found. So there's pieces that people don't understand is, and if you don't correct it in the moment, it will believe that it's now true and it'll create it as a site reference. So there's a reason why schools aren't allowing you to write papers and use that as a fact checker, because they know that it's not ready, that it's not there. But I think there are things we can use for it. Like I needed 15 video hooks today. Oh, that's the first thing I went to was ChatGPT and said, create 15 video hooks so that I could get things to look at and say, okay, are these the ones I want, or do I want different things? So I just think it's the understanding of what do we need it for, and still keeping that human element. Because at the end of the day, they just did a survey and it was 60% or 62% of people said if they knew they were being talked to by AI or engaged with, they'd rather have a human.
Well, I found it interesting that AI ChatGPT is kind of a that positive feedback loop, that it acts like you're a genius no matter what you say. If you read, right? Oh my God, great idea. And that, that's interesting because that is not human.
Yeah. We're usually not telling people they're geniuses. That's for sure.
So it's helpful, but I think I did realize in what I was doing that the thing kept telling me I was, brilliant and all this, and that's great and all, but yeah, what if it did say, you know what? That's a stupid idea.
It reminds me of if you've ever been to like a restaurant, Dick's Last Resort, right? And they're mean to you. Like, so it's like the whole point of this restaurant is they gash on you the whole time. So you'll come in there, you'll order food and they'll be like this, man, what do you want? Man, you're fat, you're this. And it's that's the whole thing, right? And I'm like, sometimes, and you can even get if you have like an Amazon Alexa, you can get the app that makes Alexa be mean to you. So like when you ask questions, it'll actually like gives you sass. And so it's not something that you ever want to be mean, but I would love to have like that honesty thing that's being put into there where like, that's an okay idea, but here's some better ones. Or like when you come up with an idea, yeah, that idea is never going to work, right? Just so that you can kind of have some like truth to it, right? Rather than, like you said, everyone's a genius when they put something in there.
Well, and I think for advertisers and marketers that when someone says something negative to you, it gets your attention.
Well, it makes you challenge it for sure.
Yeah.
Like, is my idea great? What did they see that I didn't see? I have it happen all the time. You post something, they go like this, like, hey, did you mean for this to be? I'm like, oh, no, I didn't. That wasn't even my interpretation of this. But if they thought it, it makes you question it and kind of reel back.
So that brings us to, okay, why are we here now? Well, I saw a post from you that did some of that pushback that I look for. Most of automotive, and this is why I do what I do, to me, most of automotive is so like super positive. You're a genius. We're all geniuses. We all get an award, that I can't stand it anymore. And I'm looking for truth. And I saw some of that pushback truth in one of your posts about, well, it spawned the idea of, hey, let's do a dealer debate show.
Sure.
So do you want to expand on what that was for me?
Yeah, I mean, I can a little bit. So I was asking a question of why we, there's certain shows out there, certain things that have now created kind of an echo chamber, right? It's, you got 5, 6, 7 people, they all say the same things. And I'm more of the variety of, let's get new voices in there. Let's foster new people. And if you have a show, so I have a podcast, and now I'm going to have it is our responsibility when we have a mic or we have an audience of any kind to foster youth or foster different ideas. Let's not just have the same 5 or 6 people. So I asked a question. It was not received particularly well. And then it created even more debate and some obviously negative insight and engagement. But that's okay, because everyone's entitled to an opinion and everyone wants to defend their version, right? Or what they do. And they want to be the genius in their own world, right? But at the end of the day, if you can't have a open dialogue and debate, whether we agree or not, and have, we'll call it healthy arguments or positive, disagreements, then that just kind of tells you the emotional maturity or the lack thereof, because there's more than 1, 2, 3, 4 ways to get something done. But when you're only educating one way, then you're trying to create that echo chamber. And so I'm always looking to debate that, challenge that, and say we've got to keep fostering new ideas, because that's how we get better. And we can't be afraid to, one, learn, two, question, and three, challenge when somebody thinks that that's the only way to do things.
What we might do a little bit here is go with analogies, in that my specialty, if I have one, is it's in auto logistics. Like, I know what's not working, what's
Sure.
just marketing. And this is where, carriers and brokers have they butt heads a lot. I'm not going to get into the weeds, but I do call out brokers like carriers do on some of, listen, I'm not sure the service that you're charging for is actually the service you're providing. What I'm wondering is, in this kind of butt heads disagreement of philosophies, could you see some merits of the other side, or did it just become a personal tit for tat and it really wasn't about the math anymore?
I mean, the initial is that it was challenging the merits of like the math, right? And does it make sense? And then when I put it out there and thinking how this was going to go down, which it did not, right? Then obviously there was a lot of personal attacks on me. That's okay. Like I handled them as I could professionally. We did take some of the stuff down. Actually, I think we took most of it down because we just didn't want the negativity out there. There's enough negativity in the world. We don't need to be spreading any more of that. But what it came down to is, when certain people, like when I deal with acquisition, and certain people are going to say, hey, this is how it's done. Now, whether we believe this, whether we agree with it or anything else, you're going to teach people, train people, foster ideas. You need to have the receipts, and you have to be able to prove that it's possible. And so when you're going to make conjecture and say, like, you can buy this many cars, or you can make this, or you can do that, if you can't prove it to be true and you can't show it to actually happen as you teach it, then it needs to be challenged, debated, or another way needs to be fostered in. And so that was my thought, is like, okay. And then I did a podcast after, just going over what was said. It was said you could buy X amount of cars. It said you could make this. The math didn't math. Based on what we see the national averages are and typical closing ratios and everything, the math itself did not math out. And so I think we get trapped in the car business, which you see in logistics, I see in acquisition, we see in sales, is we make these real hyperbole statements of like, oh, you can do this. And it's all sizzle, but it's like, hey, at some point we got to see if there's any stake behind it.
So there we go. All right. Well, it sounds like an exact comparison, because in auto logistics, I see banner ads. And I'm sure you can't even say this, because then you're going to lose your award. But I'm going to lose my award now. I wasn't going to get one anyways. Listen, I see the banner ad, lightning fast auto logistics. Okay, well, there is no stake behind that. That is just a nonsense phrase.
It's like an oxymoron, isn't it? Lightning fast auto logistics.
Yes, thank you. I'll go ahead. I know they're not watching the show. I think that's an idiotic thing to say. But yet, it's a paid banner ad. That's embarrassing. Are we that dumb? Are we that dumb?
Well, I think that begs the question, right? Like, so someone asked me, well, Darrell, let's say you can prove the math isn't mathing, which I did. I did the whole show, did the math, had people write it down, make them follow along with me. And they're like, but if other people believe it, GMs, dealers, owners, everything else believe it, is it on me to help them out? And I'm like, it's not, but it is on me, because I've seen a much more effective way and a different way, and not just one, a couple, right? Is if that's all they hear and they never see anything else, do they believe it, or they just have a lack of options, right? And yes, when you see banner ads and you see all these things, you go like this. I mean, are we really to the point where we don't question certain things and do the math? Are we at a level of that desperation of we just go like, oh, that must be true? I don't think so. I mean, I'm at least being hopeful that we're better than that. We know
better, don't we?
Yeah, we should know better. Yeah,
we do know better. So why are we letting dumb statements just, I don't know. Is that business?
I think it's the easy way to do it. Like, you want to hope for like these, like, when I pontificate a big statement, if I say, oh, you can make $100,000 this month in acquisition, they hear it and they go, man, they just want to hope it's true. Because if they actually did the math, or if they did the backup, or if they did the analytics to it and they said it wasn't, if they don't have an answer, we really related back to we hope it's true rather than verify if it's possible.
So, right. So then the echo chamber, isn't your echo chamber the problem? That somebody should have said, listen, that's a dumb banner ad.
Well, no, but no one wants to be the person. Like, here's the thing we do have in the car business. You see it all the time, right? You see it. You've got a show. You report the news. The news you report is so hilarious to me because, like, some of the stuff you report is like, holy cow, how's this possible, right? Is if you question anyone, right? If I said, Jay, yeah, you know what, man, what you're doing, immediately it's like you're attacking someone. No, you're just like, no, that's not true. You don't want to get bullied and you don't want to get attacked because.
Well, we do take things personally, don't we? Do.
Well, and then there's certain people, right? Let's just say that they're bigger, they have a wider name, a bigger voice. Once you question them, it's like, oh, how dare you? You have no right. Rather than, aren't we, like, why are you so special? If we can make something better, shouldn't we? Shouldn't we have open discussion?
You just made me think, you know what? Because I bag on leadership. I mean, listen, again, I think that there's a place for coaching. Actually, I say to my kids, I'm your coach. All right.
Yep.
It's my job to call you on them. I mean, I'm a little tough on them from time to time, but as a dad should. What if you had a leadership session where the leader pushed you? You're up on stage and they give you a little push. Like wow, that'd be what a wild idea.
I look at it like this: is if you're a leader, not a manager, not a contributor, not an influencer, but if you're a true leader, you should be embracing anytime someone challenges or pushes you to learn, debate, and converse or conversate in that, because that shows that you're not like, I'm not afraid to have people question me. Not only am I confident, but if they can find a flaw to what I do, I get an opportunity to learn and find out how they found it, how they saw it, and how to get better from it. A lot of people don't like to do that.
Well, and I was just going to say, what I just thought of is Andy Elliott. He was at a slide. Andy Elliott was on there. And I don't love all of his tactics, but I do like when he kind of roams around the room and he starts like throwing some reality around. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the guy's energy. I mean, whether you like everything or not, when that guy's in a room, I don't know how you don't get fired up. It's kind of like Tony Robbins. I don't know how you're in a room and not get fired up by. There's certain energies.
And it's interesting. I like his energy. I like Tony. Let's go to Tony. I like Tony's energy, but I don't really believe him.
But and let's say you don't, right? Like, I like his 6 core human flow, or the 6 core needs of humans, right? I really believe in that stuff. But let's say you don't believe his stuff. You're like, okay. But when you're in a room with him, when he's talking, he's energetic, you immediately believe whatever he's talking about, he's convicted. It's energetic. People are like same with Andy Elliott. Whatever he's doing, he's selling, he's talking about, there's no way you could get anyone to believe like, oh, I think he doesn't believe in what he's talking about. No, that guy's hyped up. He's energetic. He's convicted to it. That's part of that energy. But if you challenge Andy, and I've seen plenty of people question him, ask him questions, and he has no problem getting into that debate. Why? He could be right. He could be wrong. He has no problem with that, because when you have leaders, they're going to say, okay, I don't mind getting debate. I don't do this as long as you have the conviction of like, I can learn from that. I can get better from that. And acknowledge when someone says like, hey, you know what? You have a good point there. I don't have to agree with you, but I can agree with the fact that, you know what? You've brought up a good point. We should look at that. Doesn't mean I'm going to change how I do things. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but we're so afraid to have our ego or our sensibilities or whatever else like taken away, rather than saying, if you want to be a true leader and a true visionary and someone to look up to, you should get rid of your ego and realize it's all about getting better, learning from other people, and mentoring and building other people. So if I get on top, if I'm ever the guy on top, let's say that happens, the first thing I want to do is go find all the people that are just trying out, just starting out, and figure out how do I embrace them and move them up. I don't need to hear myself talk anymore. I want to help others. Right? And I think that's the difference that we see, right? We don't have enough of that right now in the world.
Well, amen to that. And I was also thinking something. I just said, I don't believe Tony Robbins. And I thought, well, is that a true statement or did I just say that? So it brings me to the ability to change our minds. I feel like too many people have lost the ability to change their minds. Can't we do that? It's like changing your mind is a problem. Like being able to see another point of view and change your mind is a problem. Why is that such a problem? Isn't that part of growth?
Yes, I mean, I think in the old school version of what growth is, I think now when you change your mind, is it's like you're a bandwagon or you're a turncoat. Like you're like, oh man, you don't have like, well, I look at it and I would never bring that. Like I don't want to talk about anything else, but when you think about it, when you're super young, right, and you don't know anything about like politics or anything else, you typically see younger people be one way. And as you get older, you start to look at other things and you go, you know what? I've changed some views. Doesn't mean that I'm a different person. I just like as I got older, you change your view. Or when you, before you have kids, before I had kids, I'm like, listen, I'm invincible. The world's my oyster. I can do whatever I want. Then you have kids and you're like, you know what? I should probably be a little bit smarter about some things. I should probably do some things differently. You changed your views. We don't look at that because most people don't like change and they don't like uncertainty. So they're like, once I'm here, this is where I've got to be at all times. And then it's kind of like, this is like what I'm going to do rather than saying, if I don't want to go seek change, but when it comes upon me, embrace it and learn from it. Right. So it's just a different mindset and it's not for everybody. I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, man, if you can't do it, you can't. No, it's just there's some people that are really good at it and some people that thrive in it. And then there's some people that's a harder thing to do. But that's where you have an opportunity to learn and be challenged.
Here we go. I am going to Frank and Jim. Here's your 5-second notice. 5, 4, 3. I didn't even give him 5 seconds. There we go. There's the doorbell. Thanks for joining the live show. There's Jim. Jim, can you see us and hear us okay? Here we go. I am going to... And he's got, okay, then he's got my audio. Yep, here we are. We're live, and that's how you know we're live. 4. I love being... Don't you love being live? Do you do live, or do you on demand, Darrell?
I do live on some of them, yeah.
Isn't it so different? It's just this different energy. All right, Jim, can you see us and hear us okay?
Definitely. Can you see and hear me?
We see you. We hear you. Looks like Frank is also here. Frank, can you see us and hear us okay?
I can.
All right. Thank you very much, Frank. All right, going back to Jim. Jim, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. This is officially my 5th time, so I think there's a jacket coming or something like that. I heard that a long time ago.
We're going to get you fitted for a jacket.
44 regular.
44 regular.
Yes, sir. I'll give you the address later. Well, thanks for having me on again. Jim Horan. I am the founder and CEO of Retail My Ride. I'm also a Texas retail dealer in Fort Worth. Going to just a quick background overview, I guess, not too deep, but it's funny, every time I do one of these, I go all the way back to 1979 when I got into the auto business, which doesn't seem possible, but I was 15 years old working for my stepdad's car dealerships in Miami. From there, I went on to do about a 16-year career with GMAC and the auctions and basically all their operations. But the biggest job I had there and the one I liked the most was a Southwest Regional Director of Remarketing. So I had about 1/5 of the country, and the country was doing about 1.2 million vehicle disposals a year back at GMAC and General Motors, lease, fleet, repos, and so forth. So got a lot of good experience there. Opened up my little used car lot and dealership in 2013, and I launched Retail My Ride in 2018. It's taken a lot of different directions and pivoted and moved around, relabeled and rebranded and reintroduced, and we're going to continue to do that. And essentially that is, and I won't go into it too deeply, but essentially it is the one and only still platform that is dedicated to retail consignment sourcing. You guys were talking about taglines or fake, phony, can they back it up? But we can back this one up. This is a pitch, and I'll stop there. We are America's #1 hub for retail car consignment. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. That's a good background and intro. We're going to follow up on that in a minute. But Frank, please say hello and tell us a bit more about you.
Good evening. Certainly appreciate it, Jay. I think this is my 2nd time on your show. Most people know me out there, worked a number of years, about 17 and a half years at CarMax, left CarMax to go run one of the largest independent dealerships in the country and off-lease only, where, team that acquired about 1,000 cars a week. Prior to, obviously at CarMax, my team would acquire about 1,500 cars a week. So acquisitions at scale is absolutely what I know. Once Off Lease Only closed the doors, landed with Unique Auto sales and sourcing. So sales was always around. Justin Campbell is the owner. He and I partnered together to launch Unique Auto Sourcing, which is a sourcing company to go out and help dealers find cars. Let me take a step back and talk about the wholesale side. So Unique Auto Sales runs about 2,000 cars a week, or 2,000 cars a month. I'm sorry, not a week, 2,000 cars a month at various auctions throughout the country. Most recently have landed as the chief operating officer with AutoAcquire AI. So have my hands in a bunch of different areas, all of them really focused on acquisitions. So whether it's for auction, whether it's for dealer, whether it's through AI and using AI technology to help source inventory for dealers, that's me in a nutshell. All things sort of acquisitions.
Thank you, Frank. I want to say, so there's a few different things here tonight. One is that I recognize that there's a lot of dealer content out there, but ATI is a little different in that I'm trying to talk about the ecosystem week after week or month after month or whatever my time frame is there. And I really know logistics. So when I listen to dealers talk, I'm always drinking from the fire hose. And I like that. So consider me part of those that you're educating, right? I'm not going to know everything that you know. And that's part of the reason I'm here. I'm also here with you tonight because I believe that maybe there's some differing methodologies, and I encourage that. I want to hear that. I think that there are, I've seen panels. I've been to the trade shows, and you see the panels of like 5 pretty big, we're talking dealer franchise heads, etc. And I feel like there's a lot of agreement or this and that, and I don't really get, I know there's got to be disagreement, but I don't get to hear it. So I encourage that if you think it's, whether you hold it, whether you see it, whether it's something you just want to share, if you want to jump from retail to wholesale to fixed stops, wherever you want to go, please do go there. But you're teaching us. And that's what tonight's show is really about, is learning from you rather than I can't keep up with you. I know that. Okay?
Sounds great.
All right. So, hey, Jim, let's go back to, you were talking about consignment. I've learned a lot about consignment over the years. You've taught me a lot about consignment. Why don't you have these posts where you posted something about Carvana and this and that. What are you talking about? What's going on, Jim?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I love Carvana because they give me the opportunity to kind of go and put a focus on an area where there seems to be a fan base, but I kind of scratch my head about why that is, and so this debate was, I think, around revenue and earnings and things like that. And we had that great show back in February where we talked about Carvana and some of the numbers. And like Darrell says, does the math, that's what. And I still remember that is true. And by the way, Darrell, I loved your podcast and everything else you're doing with the math, not mathing, man. It's got that disruptive, flavor to it that you bring to the equation. So, and I think that's something else just off topic. I think this group right here, we all focus on acquisition, but we've got a lot of individual and group experience, but we're not the type that's out necessarily selling a product. We're kind of actually still disruptors even after all these years of doing what we're doing. So that's kind of makes us, I think, similar and unique with a little bit different pitch and angle. But yeah, I just I kind of get it's almost like screaming into a big giant, like being one person in a big football stadium screaming when you're trying to get someone's attention about Carvana. They get a lot of positive talk and there's positive stories. I think Frank shared one with us one of the times where he went through the experience with them with buying his wife's car and it felt good and it was all worked out for him. But I don't know. I'm going to continue to kind of draw out the other options for the sellers and how they can sell their vehicles. There's some that are absolutely completely happy with what they've done. That's great. But But what we're trying to do, we focus our time is really on educating sellers that there's more than just sell it to Carvana or put it up on Craigslist. And that's kind of the gist of it. Is we present another option, and we spend a lot of energy, time, and money just getting the message out. We're not really selling a product as much as an idea, and it's a shift and a disruptive idea in itself too. So,
Well, isn't that where marketing dollars? If you spend enough of them, whatever you say is true, something like that. Carvana spends a lot of money. I'm not saying that. Listen, I'm not here to question their business, but I do wonder if that's why it works so well.
Well, it does. And that's how they can scale it. That's how they continue to grow and scale. They've got that forward momentum and the synergies and all that stuff. That's just, they start sucking up a lot more oxygen out of the room. but I don't know that they can continue to do that. I think we're going to see some news. I just put I forwarded out a LinkedIn today around the CarMax news, and I kind of renewed my belief. And I'm not cheering against people. That's not my nature at all, to fail at all. In fact, I like to prop people up. But I think Carvana's coming by the end of this quarter or first quarter. That's just a prediction. So you can
thank you, because the rent comes due eventually.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Does it though?
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it though?
Because the last time I was on your show, I think I was one of the ones saying, yeah, no, Carvana's the real deal. And we need to keep a watchful eye on what they're doing, and they're going to continue to thrive. And since that show, they absolutely have set the world on fire, and they continue to do it. And look, I mean, I'm going to tell you, the old play that they pulled is the CarMax play. The play that they're pulling right now. When I started at CarMax years and years and years ago, we had franchise stores. You know what franchise stores allowed us to do? It allowed us to walk into every closed auction and buy the best inventory and walk out with our heads held high. It allowed us to have service that we didn't have at our other, big box retail stores. And so as Carvana starts to test that, we need to be very, very cognizant that one of the things that they've never had to drive profits was service. They're entering that world of buying franchise stores with their second one now, and they're not going to stop at 2, right? They're going to keep on going, and every OEM is going to line up and go, hey, Carvana, we want to take your money. We want to be part of what you're doing. And now you've just introduced service and parts into a juggernaut. So I don't know. I mean,
not only that, Frank,
rent could come due, and I know a lot of that has to do with a lot of folks question their financing and what they do with Bridgecrest and all that, and that could very well bite them to some degree. But they've also accounted for those subprime loans, right? With setting funds aside. So I'm a fan. I just bought my second car from Carvana. Showed up, delivered on a truck, spotless X6. They took my car away, gave me a fair offer, no issues whatsoever. Now, had that been,
that sounds great.
Yeah, and look, had that been, I know how those models work with CarMax and Carvana. Had that been an 04 with 20,000 miles on it, they don't want that car, right? Right? Like that's not a car they do well with. They can't really finance that car, so they're gonna give an offer that is indicative of what they think they can send that car to the auction for and make a profit. CarMax has done it for many, many years.
By the way, was that software or was it a human being that understood that decision?
I'm gonna argue right now for CarMax and Carvana that it's software and a human being behind it.
Yeah, more. It's probably 80% software with 20% of human exceptions and relevance in it, right? They're using a big model, and then they have to look at it. What Frank said though, guys, is about, and I'm not an overly huge fan of Carvana. Okay, I've used it, I've seen it, but I will tell you the other thing that Frank said, and them going to the auction, getting these stores, the service and parts and that stuff, that's big. I think it's bigger than people realize, because CarMax did that with some Toyota and Honda stores when they first were like getting going. The big part is them going to those closed auctions. If dealers think they have a hard time now, let CarMax and Carvana go back to owning some franchise stores and getting those closed auctions, and then having the ability to pay up or get the cars because they have a much faster model. Dealers then have very little choice but to then get with Frank, get with me, get with Jim. I'm like, you better figure out acquisition from a different source, because auctions aren't going to get any easier, especially if they get into the, like, if they really get into the mix, which, like Frank said, they're not going there to buy the 15-year-old car. That's not why they're there.
No.
They're going to get the cars that turn fast, have great trade pin behind it, have the fixed operation. So when I heard they bought a franchise, I was like, oh, this has the writing on the wall. They're going to go get more inventory. So if they can't get it from the public, they can go get that. And then they make it to where the dealer can't take business from them, right? They're faster. They're quicker, right?
Think about Carvana having a bunch of off-lease cars.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What does that do for them, right? And so, when you think about, like, when you ask the question, Jay, like, is it human? Is it, is it machine, right? Like, it's both. And, I can think back to 10 or more years ago at CarMax, we were already using machine learning and AI to help us determine what values we would put on a car. We walked into the auction with our books. We knew exactly what we were going to pay for the car because that's what the machine said to pay. And then we used our judgment to deviate on 10 to 15% of those cars. But that was 10 plus years ago. Imagine the machine learning that's happened all that time. So CarMax and Carvana absolutely understand what cars that they do extremely well with, and good luck beating them on those cars. You're just not, right? No. Unless you are intentional. And so what we've done, like even at AutoAcquire, what we've done is we've taken that Carvana philosophy, and we've given the dealer their own dials, their own value dials, by saying, this is the instant offer marketplace. If the instant offer marketplace is 20 grand and you know that you're the best end user on that vehicle, then you better turn your dial up, because you need to be CarMax and Carvana on that car. You need to be 105, 110% of the market, because you're a franchise dealer that can sell that car better than the big box retailer. So that's how we've kind of turned it upside down and said, hey, if Carvana and CarMax can play that game with their own value dials, well, then why should you not be able to do that as a dealer? So that's the fundamental difference in what we're trying to do. And it's not taking AI and saying, hey, put a bunch of values out there. It's taking AI and saying, hey, we're gonna give you all this data and all this information. We're gonna take the aggregate of the instant offer marketplace and allow you as the dealer to then be that individual behind the scenes that can use your own judgment to adjust. Well, I think you talk about revenue, and you talk about, like, how does that drive revenue? Well, I can't possibly drive revenue on cars that I don't get to purchase. So I'm gonna have to be really, really aggressive on some units. But I also equally know that on other units, that's where I get to make my money. And so what's really unique with a CarMax or a Carvana, and I know CarMax better, obviously I'm intimate with that model, is there's these levers that you can pull at any time to drive your revenue, right? Like, I don't, like, if it's commodity type inventory, well, I have a different margin target on my commodity inventory than I do on, my Highline product, right? I may say, hey, on my commodity inventory, because I need that and because it turns in 30 days, if I price it right, I'm going to make $200 on that car on the front end. But on these cars, I'm going to make up for it because I know on this Highline inventory, I can make $3 or $4 grand. So I just need to be cognizant of what my inventory is and then what my margin targets look like on every car. I get really concerned when I see a dealer who has the same margin target on every single thing in their inventory.
That's the mistake. That's
because
the mistake.
That always tells me that dealer, if I look in that inventory, I am going to see significant holes, and more than likely, it's going to be holes in the commodity stuff that you really need, because the likelihood that I can find a Toyota Corolla at 90 cost to market, it's pretty unlikely, right, for me to find that car and still be profitable. So
So Jay, that was part of that debate that came out, is like an acquisition, not taken away from Carvana and CarMax, because Frank and I agree very similar to understanding if you have a Camry and it's going to move in 20 days, thinking you're going to make $4,000 on that and somehow magically acquire 10 of those, probably not likely, right? And then even to do what Jim does with consignment, there may be another move there. And Jim and I have talked, and I think what Jim offers is great. We're having a hard enough time getting people to acquire from private party. And then we're also trying to inject this conversation of give them two different options, consignment and this, and they can't wrap their head around just the acquisition piece of it. So getting consignment is this, like he said, it's a tough conversation, because they're like, I can't even figure this out. And now you're telling me there's another option, right? But that part of that debate and, the podcast, the Math Ain't Mathin', is you say, okay, you can buy 30 cars and you have the same profit set and you're going to make $2,500 a copy on each one of them. And you're going to do this from just private party. The math doesn't math. The national close average on that is 1% to 3%. So when you do the math, you're like, okay, if I need 30 cars, 3%, I mean, it's just simple math here. I have to contact 900 people.
900,
900 people that I have to make contact with, get them to then say okay to me somehow having a $2,000 or $2,500 safety and $2,600 of profit built in, which Frank knows as I say this, because he does, that's not real. And then you go like this, and then I need to be able to get 30 people to come to me, do this. Here's where I think it's maybe you do that 1 month. I'm going to say, you know what? You've hit all the right triggers and you had it happen 1 month. Now you have follow-up for all these other people and you're chasing all these and you have to do it a second month. It's not sustainable from just private party. Now, if you say you have third-party leads, first-party leads, service drive, like AutoAcquire, where they're helping you do some other things and do some of this heavy lifting, maybe, right? Maybe not at those profits, but maybe you can get to that scale. When you start putting these real rigid parameters and you're not looking at how you're profitable in all these different areas, for instance, CarMax's model, if dealerships just followed their service model, forget their sales operation model, they would buy more cars because it's a fixed number for every car. Like they have a process. And it isn't this car's $4,000, this car's $8,000, this car's $3,000. When it goes to these stations, they know what they're putting, and it's a simple expense structure. We go into it. Some stores are at door rate. Some stores are at internal rate. Some stores have parts plus 30. Some parts have. So you're challenged with what you want to be. Now, with that being said, acquisition needs to be what you need for your store. So many people are like, you know what? I want to compete with Jim. Jim's doing 400 cars. I want to do 400. You don't have the same staff, the same vision, the same everything. What do you need to get to your goal? And so I think that's where acquisition's taken this unique stance. And I know with Frank, he's doing some interesting things with the AutoAcquire, and everyone wants to do service drive, which is equally, I mean, that's another mission all to itself, but just acquisition is, you really have to think about where do you want to go and how do you want to grow? Worry about you. Create your own mission objective. Stop going like, well, the Toyota store, that's their store. And if you're going to beat CarMax, much to what Frank said, if you watch the news and you read the thing, by the way, Frank, you're a diagnostic of the fourth quarter thing on used cars, man. I had to read that twice. There was so much info on that stuff today. So good God, man. Like you really broke that down really well. But there's a reason why your four biggest investors in the world pulled out of big time out of automotive. They don't move money unless something's happening. BlackRock doesn't move money. Warren Buffett doesn't move money. Alliance Investments doesn't move money. And they pulled out large sums out of automotive. That's because dealers are starting to realize, I'll go beat CarMax. And on some cases, Carvana, if they're aggressive, as Frank said, you can't think you're getting that car for cheap, is, you know what the cars they're not beating are the cars that have the 200-day supply. You know what, CarMax? You can have that shit, right? And so now CarMax gets left with these cars, and I know Frank knows this, and then I read it. It's the first time in like 10 years or 12 years that CarMax has had over a 60-day supply of cars. Like they're really good at what they do, and now they have aging. Not that it's bad, but like for them, that'd be like a dealership having 120-day supply because they're pretty fluid. So when you think about that is, this is a chance for dealers to take some of that market back, but they have to understand the tools, which is where I think where Frank's tool is helpful, because they're not going to learn this. Unfortunately, it took Frank 15 years and all his industry experience. Jim's been doing it for 25 years plus. I've been doing it for 15 plus years. If you get a used car manager that's 2 years in and he's like, oh, I'm going to understand market and this and shifting it, it's not going to happen. You need some of those tools to help you so that you can go like this. On the $200 commodity car, dealers have to understand you're not entitled to make $3,000 on that car. Not if you want to acquire it, because somebody's going to pay up for that understands how to move this car faster, get trades, get fixed ops, get F&I. It has to be more of a holistic mission. The days of, we'll call it Jim's heyday, and then I came in a little bit after, okay, because Jim's a few years older than me, like 2 or 3, okay, is the days of we focus on front end profit alone and don't look at holistic profitability through the store.
Right.
I'm not going to say they're dead, but they are dangerously close to the end of their cycle. You have to be more holistic if you're going to grow used car operations. And if someone disagrees, I'd love to hear a different argument, but I see it every day. And I have 40 stores right now that I help. And their one store that wants to stay low volume, high gross is going backwards. They're buying the same amount of cars, but they're not selling as many because they don't have enough to keep moving up with the Joneses.
Yeah, I guess, for me, I think it really comes down to like what the strategy is for that organization, right? Because we go in and when, as an example, if I go in and I'm talking to, a dealer who just, launched, I was just with a dealer who launched AutoAcquire in their store. And, the one thing that they kept saying when they were playing with their dials is, hey, look, we really want high gross, right? And, we'll take smaller volume and okay, well, if you're going to do that, well then, all right, we turn that dial and you can be at 95 or right in the thick of it at 100% of the market with CarMax and Carvana. For the dealers who say, look, I want to be stronger. I want volume. I want more. Great. You got to crank those dials up, and you're going to take a little bit of a hit on your margin target, but each dealer is different in their own right. The one thing that I will say is that, when you talk about wanting to make, let's call it, I think I heard the number $100,000 in a month, right? Is that doable? Could I do that? Front end gross, just front end gross.
From one buyer. That was the number that they can make $100,000 from one buyer.
Like, could I do that? Yes. If I sat down behind my computer, I could sit down and I could buy 50 cars and make $2,000 a month. I could do it. It's possible, right? And how do I know it's possible? Because I have a wholesale division that backs me up, and we buy cars at the auction and take them to the auction and run them and still make a profit on those cars. So is it possible? It absolutely is. Is it a hell of a grind to be able to do it? You bet. It means sitting in front of your computer. And I've done it. Like, I've sat in front of my computer, woke up at 6 a.m., logged on to Smart Auction, put a bunch of cars, proxies in on a bunch of Smart Auction cars, went to the auction, live bid a bunch of cars, jumped on ACV, live bid a bunch of cars, went back, checked my proxies, then went on to Facebook Marketplace. It's doable, and it was doable, and I kept doing it, but it takes a bunch of things. One, it takes a skill set, right? You're not going to jump into this arena and then just start doing it. That's number one. Two, it's going to take a lot of dedication and a lot of discipline in order to be able to do that. It means you better have your lunch ready. You better have it in the fridge so you can run, grab it, and get back to your desk so you don't miss a car, right? Because that could be one of the ones you needed for that day. But those are all the things that I think about when you talk about being able to find cars and do it and figure out a way to be profitable in doing it. And CarMax and Carvana, they've figured out a way, because do they have segments where they are making $2,000, $2,500 on a car? Yeah, they have segments, and they're buying hundreds of cars that they're making that kind of money on them. But they're committed to it, and they're disciplined when they go about their process. So that's what I'd say. That, like, I would say
Well,
it's
real
possible,
real quick, Frank,
but it's
because
going
you're
to
saying
be very, very tough.
you're saying that you can do the 100 grand and 50 cars, which I agree with you based on how you just said it. Now let's ask you another question. Then I'm gonna throw something in here. Can you make 100 grand, 2 grand, or 2,500 a copy, depending on how many volume you do, 30 to 50, right? With only, as it was said, private party listings, no auction, no third party, no first party.
I don't know. I honestly, I've never tried it. I've always had my approach has always been a holistic approach. I've always looked at every single channel, and look, I hear a lot of people saying it now, but I was one of the first to say, look, there are no bad channels, right? Like, while everyone else is saying, hey, go, you got to go service drive, you got to go, direct from consumer. I kept saying, no, there are no bad channels. You just have a bad strategy.
For
So,
sure.
for me, I've never tried just to go Facebook Marketplace. I've always, been able to really rely on the auctions, really rely on the appraisal lane of a store, service drive. I mean, hell, service drive, you're only converting 2%, right? No one's talking to 100 customers, 200 customers to buy 4 cars. I haven't seen it yet, right? Like, everyone ends up walking away from that. So, if there are people out there that are lighting the world on fire with service drive acquisitions, I've heard of a few, right? Like, I heard of Brian Benstock's store that they light the world on fire with service drive acquisitions, but you only hear a few out of thousands of dealers that are actually doing it successfully. Well,
and it's funny you say that, like service. So we'll use Benstock store because they are probably actually the highest converting store I've ever seen and heard of.
Yeah.
And I think we need to, and this is where I like to level set things so people understand, like Jay was saying, you learn something. We'll use Benstock store because it's the most unique one too. So you have Germain Toyota down in Florida. They do pretty good with service. Okay. They get quite a few cars. They also have a Toyota store that writes.
Oh, got a break up here. Mic check. 1, 2. Watch out. The Enterprise is shaking.
I mean, they're in the
here we
double
go.
digits. They're in the double digits they are a 90% lease store. So you're not battling purchases. When someone's purchased a car, the upgrade or the trade-in or the trade-up or those type of things, it's not as easy, especially after COVID. But if you're in a lease, you're always in a power cycle of being able to offer options. But again, he'll tell you, Kramer would tell you, this didn't happen in a year. It didn't happen in 2. This was 5 years of like Frank said, of talking to 400 people and nothing happening and figuring out why the hell is this not working. And so when I hear things like, oh, you can buy these cars, and I love what Frank said, you need a skill set. You need to understand the store, because if you think, I don't care if it's private party or this or that, if you're not going to have a holistic view and you think you're just going to go find 2,500 a copy on 50 cars, and one, you're not glued to your seat, and 2, you don't have a skill set, you're going to hire brand new people for a buying center or service drive, and then you go and tell people this is possible. I'm looking for the store that receipt can be shown. I've went all across the country to include other buying centers that are coached by other people, and they are not making the front end profit that is delusionally being said that can be done by private party alone. Now, I've seen some on some first party stuff and some third party, and then holistically, like Frank said, auctions and a little bit of everything. But when you're like, all I'm doing is jamming into Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, if it still works in some areas, because it depends on the area you're in. I've not seen one person be like, oh yeah, I bought 30 cars last month. I made 2,500 company on every car, and we made back. I've not seen one store be like, yeah, that's all I do is work Facebook. Most people have ICO or Car Gurus or Trade Pending, or they have their own site, that's where the real money's coming from now, guys. Create your own site, duplicate it with social, right? Have a social buffer or a social echo, and then get your own leads. Because here's the thing I don't want to do. I don't want to pay Cox Automotive $8,000 a month for a buy center to $20,000 a month, depending on the area, to get, if you're over aggressive, because you have to be super aggressive to get a 10% close ratio. If you're not over aggressive, you're going to be at 3 to 5%. So you're like, now I'm overpaying for these leads, and I got to overpay for cars in order to get your first party leads. They like you, they found you, they want to do business with you. You can create your own thing, why this is hilarious to me. 33 years ago now, Frank, or is it 32 years ago? This is what CarMax did. They built their own brand and said, we don't need third-party leads. We're going to create our own dynamic.
That's right.
And Carvana, they said, you know what we don't need? The rest of you clowns out there, we're going to create our own dynamic. But dealerships, for some reason, don't want to invest money in building their own acquisition brand. Not service or sales. That's two very different things. Their own brand for acquisition. Because it does take money and it does take time. Now, I'm not saying be like Carvana and go spend $1 billion of angel money, okay, to build your brand. Maybe don't do it that way. But you can do it at scale with Google, first-party leads, social media now. If you just embrace that, you can drive traffic like never before. I have one guy I've partnered with. He helped a store buy 80 cars last month with TikTok and Instagram. No other budget. Because they just went and talked to people and made it easy in that area and just had little widgets, right? Or little like dynamics. So
and that's what we started to do, right? Like you know, we have a dealer in the Northeast that we launched their website. We put our widget on their website. It's their first party. People are going to their website. They're not having to battle anyone for those cars. They're getting to take their time and, you know, not take their time. Obviously, they're still reaching out to those customers on day one, but it's not a race to figure out, oh, I got to beat the other 3 dealers to that car, right? Like they're using their own name in their own market and saying, hey, look, we can go out and we can buy cars with aggressive offers that make sense for us. And the ones that we don't really want, the ones that we don't have a need for, we're going to control the offers on those too, and know that we're not going to over leverage ourselves.
Yeah, get the stuff that works for you, right? And walk away from the stuff that doesn't. Or, and this is where Jim could probably come in too, Frank, on some of those things with AutoAcquire, right? Because I've talked to him about a couple of stores. I actually have one that might actually be a conversation here shortly, is the cars you don't want, right? I'm going to use the 2 cars that I absolutely loathe, that I have PTSD from, like a Jeep Gladiator or a Range Rover. These are cars that I'm never wanting to put money on because, let's get real, they don't sell that quick in most markets. But if I didn't want those, I would control my offer, as Frank said. That is just smart business. I'm not going to over leverage myself in a car that doesn't move. However, that's where like the consignment road would be this great idea, because they could say, listen, I don't want this. I don't want any part of this. However, if you can put this into the conversation, now that allows you to maybe keep a car, you're letting the customer know how this is going to work and what their options are. But now it gives them an idea, right? So it's another piece to start a conversation. We don't want these. But if a customer said, well, I want to sell it, here's another way, right? Like this is where you can introduce it. But like Frank said, you control the conversation for your store based on what you want to offer, right? Rather than you're competing with 2 or 3 other dealers, all saying you're going to pay more, creating all kinds of noise and headache, and they don't really know who you are because it's just served up from a third party, right? So there's these different dynamics that we have to start thinking about. And Jim and I have talked about this a lot, is we have to stop being, I know this is going to sound crazy, I'm probably going to get hung by my toes from dealers, is dealers need to stop worrying about their methodology, and they need to start thinking and discussing with customers what works for them, because that's how we get customers. We have to stop pushing our agenda and answer their questions, right? Customers have questions. We don't put it first. We always want to push our agenda to sell a car, and then we wonder why people don't want to do business with us. Right. You walk into CarMax, even though it takes forever now, it's nowhere as fast when Frank was there. It was so much faster back in the day. CarMaxes take 90 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, depending on some locations. You walk in there, there's no pressure. You walk in, they look at your car. It's very easy. It's not this like, shark bait, like you're going into the shark, tank. And if you want to go look at the cars, now you are in like a prison format because they cage all the cars in, so you can't get out. You can't run away. But you can just go walk around and do whatever you want. But dealers, could you imagine if you just let someone walk around your lot, if at GSM or GM, they would lose their mind. They'd be like, who's out with that customer? Who hasn't talked to them? Like, they would go nuts. And when we get a trade lead or an acquisition lead, the first thing we do is like, hey, get an appointment. We want to sell them a car. How about we just focus on buying their car first? And then when we wrap that up, then we can have the conversation of, we also have some other services, folks, right? Would you like to replace it?
Yeah, I mean, the cars you were describing, with the ones where you don't want to put your money on the car to get it, and so you're going to dial it back and hope that maybe you do get it. Maybe that even goes straight to auction. You'll make $500 or whatever your strategy is. But like when I put out a lot of these really ridiculous lowball examples, Carvana lowball a day, They are typically the, '06 Corvette with 40,000 miles on it, and they're offering 11, and the damn thing retails for 23. And it just looks ridiculous on paper, and that's why I put them out there. You're right. The 2023 models, 2022s. I mean, they're going to grab those and they're going to put all their money on it. And then the dealers are looking at MMR, and Carvana and CarMax have their own numbers. And to someone else's point, I think Frank did earlier today, earlier this evening, it feels awkward and risky for them to extend it to where you're like, all right, I'm offering MMR, that should get it done. But now Carvana is probably, if they really want the car, they could be 1,200 over, 1,500 over, and the dealer's like stepping away. So just like in the auction lane when you're doing the bidding, I mean, when I see a Carvana step forward, if I want the car, I'm going to step back. I'm an independent dealer. I don't have all the tools, resources to get that deal done and make money on it. And the same thing is happening in the private party sector. But to your point, Darrell, it is absolutely those types of vehicles where, and it's interesting, the sellers of those vehicles, the Land Rovers and like you said, the Jeeps, the ones that are hard to sell right now, they'll tell you they got the greatest vehicle on the planet, and they'll tell you what it's worth retail. And you say, well, that's fine, leave it with me, let's test it out and let's see if you're right. That's where consignment comes in, right? But it's still another car. So a car is a car is a car, and every one of them counts. And we're now showing that the margins, as we're going through retail, owned inventory compression on margins. The nice thing, the biggest thing about what we're going through this period of time right now with that compression is that consignment's always a percentage of retail of what you retail it for. So you've got guaranteed margin. You get it sold. And that's the reverse is true too. When it goes the other direction, where all of a sudden wholesale becomes so attractive, and consignment kind of fades in the background as well. It's cyclical that way as well. We just launched 2 tools to our dealer website, which is the acquiremorecars.com, and it's 2 interactive tools. One of them is where you can put your information in on a given vehicle, and it'll show you the instant cash offer versus the estimated consignment, and it shows the margin, the region, the difference with what the seller is going to pocket and what the dealer is going to make. So we just put that out there tonight. We're going to probably put an announcement out about it. The other one is we've got a tool now where you can input your numbers, make them real to yourself, your particular store, and you can then take and slide a slide left and right on content or mix of your inventory. So some dealers have 30% consigned, 70% owned. And as you slide that scale back and forth, it's changing the numbers based on your inputs. And we validated all the calculations. It's perfect. It's running great. So any dealers interested in doing that, or you guys want to go play with it, it's on acquiremorecars.com or Get Free Inventory. We've got a bunch of domains that all point to the same place. But it's kind of cool now. So instead of us just describing, here's the top 10 benefits of consignment, we've got 2 tools out there that'll actually show you the dual side of the seller and the dealer and how they both benefit from it. We're hoping that's going to help get some more dealers interested in that sourcing model a little bit more, because those cars are.
That's awesome.
Ones you can plug in and show, where the seller is going to make an extra $3 or $4 grand, and the dealer is going to make $3 grand on the front end too.
I think that's great just because you're educating, right? Because that is the hardest piece, is them understanding the methodology behind it, because consignment, it's not yours, the liabilities, everything. Now you're showing them, like, here, like you said, you have that all dialed in. But I also think it's one of those things when we're looking at acquisition and dealers, is much to what Frank was saying, is a dealer has to have their own methodology, right? And if they say they want to be low and slow, like I want to buy 20 cars a month but make $5 grand on the front, right? I'm sure it's possible, right, in certain areas. But then when they say, like, I need to sell more cars, well, listen, you got to figure out one, right? If you're only going to want 20 cars, you want to make this profit, something's got to give. And so I've always looked at, we'll say, old business adage. So right when I went to college and I wasted money on getting these educational degrees, is simple business is if you're not growing, you're shrinking, right? If you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. Well, if you're not growing your customer base, then inevitably you're going to get absorbed, right? Now, it may take 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 60 years. I mean, it just depends on the timeline. So every time I hear someone say they want to, like, we just want to get 20 and we want to make this. If your customer base is not growing, someone is taking business from you. Like one of the video hooks, I was talking to Jay before you guys got on for ChatGPT, and I said, I just need 15 video hooks, and I just want to see which ones would be good because I need to make some new content. And one of them was for every vehicle you don't buy, you just helped another business grow.
Absolutely.
And
That's
now
one of our
we've
pitches,
now we've gotten so much into it. It's not just you've helped them grow. Is you look at trade absorption, it's the worst it's ever been, right? At 35% unused, right? I get it. We're like at 40% total, but like 35% unused. That means 65% of every used car you sell doesn't have a trade. Well, that means you're not stocking right. You're not trying to absorb more trades. You're not trying to build your customer base. So every time we start to go like, well, this is how we've always done it. Yeah, that was before we had cell phones. That's before we had internet. That's before we had, AI. And so when you think about it, is you have to change your business model and continue to grow and get customers. Hell, that's before we had social media, which is now where people live 5 hours a day on social media apps. Right? In America, 4 hours and I think it's like 42 minutes, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn. Which, if you do the math, if we sleep 6 hours and we're on social media apps for 5, where are we doing anything else?
Well,
like, it's just
soon
nuts.
We'll be on social media while we sleep. All right, so in the ecosystem, I'm going to rein this in, and we'll try to land this plane soon. In the ecosystem of automotive, we've been focused on the dealer section, and within dealers, we've been focused on used cars, and within used cars, we've been focused on vehicle inventory acquisition. Am I right about that?
Yes, sir.
All right. In the over 30 minutes we've been talking, I don't think anybody said Hertz or Amazon. Now, Amazon maybe because that's mostly new. Am I right?
Nope.
I mean, they're
used.
playing in 2 manufacturers right now for certified use. So we'll see. But I think that is something that's coming. I've never seen Amazon touch anything that hasn't been successful. So I see that being.
That's exactly why I feel like it's really important, right?
Hertz,
Yes.
Hertz is nothing to worry about. I will
that
tell you that
right?
right now. Hertz is the shittiest. Sorry about that.
Did we
Hertz
just
is
get
the-
canceled? No.
No, yeah. So Hertz is the worst rental company out there when it comes to inventory. I could tell you horror stories of the cars you get from them when you did get them. So
Are
them
you
going
freaking
to
serious? Really?
yeah, so them going to
Yeah.
retail, I actually just said when I heard that I was like, congratulations, dealers, you just got stronger by them going to market because your cars look better. So Hertz is not a concern whatsoever, I don't think.
That's crazy.
Agree.
I would
Frank
beg to
probably
differ.
doesn't. Frank probably doesn't agree, but
I didn't know that. I didn't get that memo.
So here's my take. I'm with you. Amazon, I think they're actually testing any used car in California.
yeah, I'm one of the test states for sure.
And so as that rolls out across the country, that becomes super interesting. But it becomes a play to help the dealer, right? Like that puts the dealer in the conversation to go head to head with a CarMax or Carvana, provided they have the inventory, because now you get to advertise your cars on the biggest platform that there is. So to me, that helps the franchise dealer. The Hertz play is a little bit different, and here's why. So most dealers, yes, get the Hertz car, and the Hertz is the crappiest, ugliest, nastiest car that you could have imagined.
It is, man.
From Hertz. However, you know who doesn't get the crappiest, nastiest, ugliest of cars? Carvana and CarMax.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because he
they
knows
have
about
a list.
this.
They have a list that they have access to well before the general public even has access to that. And they've went back door and they've struck a deal to say, hey, we're going to buy X amount of cars from you every single month in and month out. So we need the bestest of cars. And so those cars, much like, so think about franchise dealers and think about the franchise world. You know, when you go to a closed sale, you get the best of the best. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the open lane, and then the cars are a little bit worse. And then by the time that car has went to a dealership and arrived back and a franchise dealer is selling it, it's a piece of crap. If you're the guy who's getting the cars at the top end of the funnel, you're getting clean, great, good-looking, clean inventory, which is where CarMax has played for years, right? Even when I was at Off Lease Only, I'd call my Hertz rep up and I'd say, hey man, I need my list. I get that list after CarMax and Carvana, which meant I had that list 48 hours in advance of anyone else, right? I'm telling all the dirty secrets. I'd have that list in advance. And I could tell the Hertz rep, hey, you know what? I'm going to buy 200 this month, right? I'm going to buy 50 every single week. And here's what they're going to be, right? In Enterprise, I'm going to do the same thing. In Avis, I'm going to do the same thing. But I had my list in advance, so I always got cleaner cars, and I always got them at a little bit of a better discount. Here's where I land the plane. If Hertz goes to selling cars retail and not putting those cars into CarMax and Carvana, what do you think happens to CarMax and Carvana in terms of their inventory and where they have to go find that inventory? They're going to have to go put pressure on the auctions or on private marketplace to get the inventory that Hertz is no longer giving them. So now you have this whole ecosystem that's been disrupted, not because Hertz is going to sell a really good car. That's a part of it. Like, they're going to sell some cars that they're going to deep discount them and customers aren't going to go elsewhere to get them. But it's more the supply chain side that they're disrupting once again, much like when Hertz and Enterprise decided they would start bidding in the auction lanes, right? This is a disruption for me. I look at it, and only time will tell, but I look at it as a disruption in the supply chain side more than anything.
So it's funny. I didn't think about how Frank was saying that. So if they're going to eliminate the CarMax Carvana like injection, the way that I saw this was, I mean, it would be crazy. And I don't know if they survive it if they did that. And this is why. That they would still do their business model with the big ones. Like Frank had told me that in the past. And I'm like, no wonder I'm getting the crap list, right?
Crap, yeah.
But if they continue doing that, they really are going to go to the retail side for what they have left, because the dealers don't want it. They're getting left with this inventory. So they would sell we'll call it the edgier cars. And if they do that, then I think it doesn't hurt us. It doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
But if they do what Frank's talking about, then yeah, again, the disruption on the supply side makes dealers, it does two things to dealers that are going to be really, really difficult. The first one is when they have to go get cars to replace and everything else at the auction. The auction now goes from unaffordable to suicidal, because everyone, you're going to have so many people there that you're going to pay up for stuff that you should never pay up, because now you are so reactive, you have to. Two is then the quality of what you're paying up for is going to drop, because now it's going to again be reactive. So then if they go to private party, I mean, I wish them all the best of luck, because the more noise you make in there, it's better for the consumer. But the more noise you make in there without intention, and I want to say that word very specifically, that isn't a brand, an intention to create a consumer experience so that people want to come to you, because anyone can say they'll pay you more money. And then when you have them come to your store or your location, and it takes you 2 or 3 hours and you start jacking around with them, money doesn't get the job done, because they're going to light you on fire. They're going to give you bad reviews. They're going to tear you up in Reddit. Which only the reason I bring that up, because we'll go back to AI, because this is where I think AI actually is extremely influential. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Gator, all these other ones, Reddit now, they index the new GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, which will replace SEO shortly, okay? Which is consumer experience daily, weekly, in the moment. So if you're like, we throw out more money, but then they go and light you on fire and all these things, that AI overview is going to say you're the worst place to sell a car. You're a bag of shit. You're garbage. And guess what? People aren't even, the 0-click model is that AI overview. You don't even scroll. You just click. When they look at this, I show stores now where you're like, let's see if you're the best place to sell a car. And they don't even index. Yeah. Well, if you're not there, people are going to find the places that do it the right way. I can get $500 less, but I'm out in 30 minutes. They come to me. They make it easy, whatever it may be. If you have AutoAcquire, it's like a red carpet service, because I know that's what Frank's teaching the stores that get that, is it needs to be an experience and a service. You can't just throw out a number and hope that works, right? So that's where, if you're going to get in the private party aspect, if Hertz wanted to do that or dealers want to do it, the time is now. But if Hertz does what Frank's talking about and takes out CarMax and Carvana, and then they have to go that route, well, one, it shifts their whole business model. Right? I mean, not really Carvana's, because they already do it, but then they would have to open up their gamut, right? Like Jim said, they don't really want the 06 with 40,000-mile Corvette. But if all of a sudden they're not getting those core cars that they get and they spin,
that's all there is. They're going to go for it.
They would have to open up their spectrum. And then if CarMax then went to like a Carvana, because CarMax doesn't go out and get it, right? They have a website and then people come to them. They would have to change their methodology and have to go that. Well, then that makes it even harder for dealers to do private parties. So when you look at that is if you're not in it now and you're not really tackling acquisition intentively, like your big intentions of this is the most important thing to me, don't be surprised in 5 years and you're crying like a little whiny bitch and going like, what happened? Well, you decided it wasn't important when you could have got into it. And Frank probably would argue you should have been in it 10 years ago, like I argue. You probably should have been doing this years ago. But now you still have a chance. And if you don't get into it, the business will pass you by. There are stores, he sees groups, I sees groups, Jim sees groups that have decided acquisition is their only move, right? And if you're at the auction, there are people, I probably know 5 in the industry, not saying there's not more than 5, but that can effectively go to the auction and buy you enough cars and be profitable, right? But at scale,
and be profitable.
And Frank's one of them, right?
I can't.
So if you're going like this,
dealer.
I need cars. I need cars right now. We're out of cars, or I need cars. You are going to make emotional bad decisions because you're reactive. When you have a strategy and you're proactive, you can be very attentive of what you're getting. Then all the channels, as Frank said, with the right strategy, every channel works. When you're reactive, none of the channels work because you're going like this. I need it. I have to do it. Now I'm doing things that I wouldn't normally do. And this is where you'll hear me say on every podcast or anyone I'm talking to or training, the moment that you let thoughts and feelings come into your evaluation, you've lost. Because it has to be the data and the facts. And then, as Frank said, a little bit of your understanding of where you'd make some overrides. But like he said, it's 15%. We are talking a very small amount of cars. You go, you know what? I know the facts say this, but I have experienced this. We can do this a little bit more, a little bit less. If you just say everything's like, I think this car is going to sell for this. Well, as an owner of a dealership, if my used car manager is saying that, you're treating my checkbook like an open piggy bank. That's scary, right? If it was your own money, I promise you wouldn't spend it like that. Okay, I know that's how Frank looks at it. He wouldn't spend his money like that. I know Jim, that's how he looks. Is we have to look at it as if this was your own money, would you make these silly decisions? Would you do better, right? And I think that's the conversation that people need to realize is, and it's possible, but I will also agree with everyone that's in the acquisition side and looking at the Amazon and everything else. Buying cars in the used car department or used car operations, it's the hardest job in the store. It's the hardest job. Like, finance maybe is number 2, right? But used car acquisition and then getting it through the shop and everything else is the hardest because if someone's selling a car, it's everything you need and you have nothing they want, which means you have to create an experience that makes it to where they want to come to you. That's the difference. If it's a trade-in, that's different. You have something they need, something they want, right? There's a give and take. Pure acquisition, you need them, you want them, and they don't need you. So how do you create that? How do you squeeze that gap, right? How do you create that to where they come back to you, right? Yeah. And that's where I think, but I think the Amazon thing is probably the most fascinating thing. They started with Hyundai. Now they partnered with ACV to do values, which, hey, let's give it to them. ACV to get that partnership.
That is amazing.
Man, that was a big one. That was a big one. They should be taking a bow every time because I thought for sure Cox Automotive was going to somehow weasel with their way into that thing. Okay, but ACV gets it. But when you look at it, Hyundai was their first one, and Hyundai's not a core brand, like a hot, really popular brand. Could you imagine if they're talking about maybe Ford? Can you think of a Ford or Kia or Chevy all of a sudden starts doing Amazon? That's the game changer, right? Yes. And yes, they are beta in the used cars in California, so you have to list with them. We'll see what that pricing is and what does it take to list and what that's a beta. So there's that. But just from the new car franchise, that Amazon thing is Amazon doesn't lose. Like Amazon and Google don't tend to lose very much in their business scale. So if they're involved in it, I'm kind of behind it.
Well, that's kind of why, yeah, I feel like it's something to keep watching. I want to say that one thing I've tried to learn is quit while you're ahead, which I clearly haven't learned. But I think this has been an amazing show, and I think we're probably really at a pretty good stopping place here. So how about final thoughts? Anybody have anything they're dying to add?
I would just say for Frank and for Jim, okay, I know both of these guys. you definitely want to look at consignment. It's a really good option, and let them explain it to you, because it's one of those things that you need to understand before you do it. And then with Frank, if he's involved in it, AutoAcquire, unique auto sourcing, I've seen how this man works. I don't know if he actually sleeps, so I've got to give him kudos because he's always making it happen. But the things they're doing, I think, is the next revolution, right? AutoAcquire AI, first party leads, you guys got to do it. Me, I'm a coach. I'm going to help you make your store better. I don't have software. So if you're looking for that, but I can vouch for these two guys. I'm glad that they came in and we get to see difference of opinions and then alignments, because we're all here to help and we want to make the industry a better situation for everybody.
Hey, Darrell, what is the name of your podcast? I got the question earlier in the live chat.
Street Smarts, powered by Smart Wolf Consulting. So if you type in Street Smarts on YouTube, it'll come up, or anywhere on social media.
Perfect. Street Smarts on YouTube. All right.
And
Powered by Smart Wolf
the last thing
Consulting.
I would say, Jay,
Yeah.
is this: that right now we're the middle of October, Q4. Holidays will be here before you know it. If you're waiting to wait and start in Q1 to figure out acquisitions from
Right.
software, consulting, whatever you're doing, you're already too late. So
That's true. That's true.
my recommendation, I'm always looking 90 days out, 120 days out. You don't want to be that guy that 120 days from now is now trying to reach out and figure out, how do I get some help from one of these guys?
Yeah, I gotta say that with just listening to y'all, like I wrote down, acquisition sounds overwhelming. You know, if you're just trying to get into it, like, right? Wouldn't that be hard?
Yes.
If you don't have
It's very
coaching
hard
or
without
guidance,
help.
yeah, if you don't have coaching or guidance or someone that knows what they're doing, that's already banged their head against that wall, you can be successful, but you are climbing up Mount Everest. And I can tell you from Frank and I, we've had this conversation. We have found very few people that go at it alone that stick with it, because the moving parts that come at it, it's like anything else. Till you've developed the habit and understand how to do it, it's overwhelming day in and day out. And so having a coach, consultant, having a company that has the software in this, it allows you the bandwidth to understand and navigate it, and then have the help when you need it until you're ready to say, okay, now I'm ready to go.
And just to test that for anybody, if you say, if you go online and say, I want to sell my car or whatever, I mean, how many companies right now will give you an offer on your car? Right?
25 at least.
Say 20 to 30, yeah.
At least.
Yep.
I mean, that is, so to enter that horse race, that's overwhelming.
It is. It fragments it so much, and it creates. I put the term out there a long time ago: ICO saturation. Somebody's ultimately going to get the car with an ICO, whether you're the first or the last one that gets them an offer, and that's where. And here, I'll leave. This will be my final gift, or contribution. But I think my philosophy has always been. Maybe I'm old school, but it's really less transactional and more relationship, and going through your dealership, looking at each of the different profit centers that are within that, and looking for ways to make it more customer centric. So whether that's buyers or sellers or someone in your service, you want to develop. And I know that Darrell gets into this too. He focuses on acquisition for coaching, but I'm sure you get into these things. And Frank says it too, holistically, we want to be the dealership that your customers go to as the source for anything that's associated with you being an owner of that vehicle. Whether it's service, it's time for me to sell it, I want to lease a car, buy a car, trade a car in, get a value for it. It's kind of like the old, I got a guy in the car business. That could be a big dealership. That could be individuals working at that dealership. But it's more relationship based, and that's what we're trying to do. We don't say it enough, but what we're trying to do is be more seller advocate, looking out for them more so than those lowball transactions. So less transactional, more relationship. If anything, you can ways to build that into your dealership processes and software and strategies, you're going to be more profitable and you'll survive whatever's coming, in the future with all these things we're talking about with Amazon and Hertz. And how do you got to compete with them head to head, for the dollars. But I think the way to win is the relationship side of it ultimately, because transaction doesn't feel right to me. That's just me, perhaps.
Yeah,
but
I will agree. There's
I
a
agree.
soft touch to add, right? When the transaction's done, be the go-to.
yeah,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
This was really great. I really was drinking from a fire hose again tonight. I was able to keep up with you for most of it. And I think that there's some valuable content in here. I really appreciate you taking the time. You just gave me a lot of time. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
And
You're welcome. Thank you for the invite.
I got to work on those jackets. Hopefully one of these days, everybody will get a jacket. So 44
members
regular.
only, members only jacket.
Members only.
Oh, members only.
There
I
you
may
go.
still have one of those in my closet.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a great idea. All right. I'll just end it here. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Really appreciate it.
Have a great
Good
night.
seeing everybody.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Thank you. All right. So I will, there they go. There goes Frank. And now it's just me. Now you're just stuck with me. I'm just going to end it. This was a great show. Automotive ecosystem, OEM dealer, auction, logistics, compliance, recon, marketing, and tech. Those are the 8 sections of the automotive ecosystem that I identified in my graphic that you can find on my website. You can find ATI Auto Business on YouTube. You can find ATI Auto Business on LinkedIn, Instagram, I don't know, Facebook, wherever. The point of this channel, and what I know is that, so here's what's happening. So what's happening? What's happening on your channel, Jay? It's not really growing. It's just kind of going sideways, which is fine. It's not dying. That's actually good, because one of the things that I do is I do look at how's other content doing, and I really I suppose I'm a bit of I'm a roach because I'm still here. I'm not dead yet. And I've seen a lot of content come and go. I've seen different partnerships, hosts, ideas, concepts, podcasts. Oh my God, I don't know how many first episodes I've seen that never made it to the 10th episode. I've seen several shows. They're still going, but man, they're getting 10 views. And I mean, that, that'd be rough. Let me tell you, I'm with you on this. If I do shows and I get 10 views, and I haven't had that happen in a long time, but it really does make you question your own sanity. And if that happens a few times, whew. And so when I look at big companies that are shelling out 5 figures per episode, and they're still only in the hundreds of views, man, that would hurt. I don't know how you go into that meeting with a straight face. I've seen hosts that were there for years. They're gone. I've seen cults rise and come and go. I see Kool-Aid splashing. I see these different people pop up at trade shows, wheeling out their stuff. The only people that really kind of are durable through the wars are the large sponsors. A couple companies got mentioned tonight that have super deep pockets, and no matter how many shells they take to their hulls, they just keep on pumping out the same agenda, marketing, happiness, bullshit. And it's weird, and I know that the audience, we're not so easily tricked anymore, although apparently we still are tricked by different messaging, and we can't fully understand what we're seeing or perceiving. I think I got off track. What I'm saying is I'm still doing it. I'm not going live every week. I'll never do that again. In fact, I don't even know how I did do that, because going just 2 weeks back to back now feels like a lot. And it's almost impossible to keep up with news or non-news But I'm still here, and I've got some great shows. I got a couple great shows lined up. I'm not going to do many more shows this year. And so here's what I've noticed is people are coming and they're watching on demand to some degree. Here's a phenomenon I've noticed. I'll leave you with this. Is that it used to be shows got a lot of views and tapered off. And now more shows there's more of a straight line. People are still watching. I don't know if it's because I have less shows or if there's less shit out there, or if this, I think ATI has gotten much edgier than it used to be. And so it's broken through as this is a different channel. This channel is different. I talk different. Everything about this channel is different. And I think that has helped views. And I feel like, this is why I say the ATI effect, I feel like I'm seeing a little more truth in all or most of the other traditional automotive media channels. And in fact, I've noticed one group, they dabbled in video and they got out of it. Because it's hard. It's really hard. It's actually hard to make it, like when you have like a fake corporation talking, it's terrible. If they're fake and it's dumb, you don't have a live show. People are not going to watch that crap. It's cool that people understand that. What I think people do get tricked by, though, is the belief that they can get on the golf course with the lobster winning an award. You know, I see a lot, I think it's the awards that kind of tricks people the most, is I see people win an award and they feel that kind of juice, that Red Bull of like vitality, and then after a few months, really nothing happened. There wasn't a bump in the career. They didn't get any speaking gigs. What was that award even for? Why do 100 people go up on stage, get an award, and then it's just kind of 6 months later, it's like, man, I don't remember you in the jumpy. Like, I don't really understand why we still do that. And yet there are more award shows than ever before. So the award trick still works. And I wonder if maybe it's because there's an information vacuum. Because of the nature, it's 2025, and it means censorship is rampant. You listen to other YouTube channels, and how many words are bleeped out, and how many regular words are bleeped out. And like, you can't say anything at work. Wherever you work, you can't say a goddamn thing. There ain't no water cooler. They threw that away. So you just kind of have to go through life with your head down, make some money, and hope you can get on the golf course, get some lobster, win an award. And what does it even mean? 6 months later doesn't mean a damn thing. So then what? When you lose your job, you go become a podcaster, and now you're one of... Do you know how many useless podcasts there are out there? Holy crap. That's another reason why I've kind of changed this show used to be a little bit different. I used to be a little bit nicer. I was trying to also eat the lobster, play golf, and win an award. I am no longer trying to play golf, eat lobster, and win an award. I don't think it's actually really benefiting this channel, but here's what is. It's now obvious that I'm Oscar the Grouch, I'm the angry guy, and when your car gets stolen or some bullshit happens, do you know who people think of first? Those are the emails and the phone calls I get from people that have finally had it. So if you know somebody who's finally had it, it's ATI Auto Business, baby. This is the channel for people that have finally had it and they're ready for some reality. What do I really do? What am I going to really do? Watch ATI Auto Business, of course. Have a good night. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next show. Peace out, everybody. Thank you.